Say they couldn't.
I'm sorry, one more time.
Two people said they couldn't do it, but they wanted to before. And Houston called me last night and said the short course it's the day that we're having our Christmas party.
Trying.
We didn't get any rain today.
Hi, everybody listening at home. We're going to get started here in just a couple of minutes. We're going to wait a few more minutes for any stragglers to come on in, since this is part of an irregular schedule. But thank you for joining us for the October meeting of the Bros, and we'll be with you in just a couple minutes.
Right.
Yeah, what she's saying, Judy Kimball says, everyone, we may have open mics.
Okay, so for everybody at home, if I could get y'all to mute your microphones, should be on the far left-hand side of the bar, the Zoom control bar. So just mute your mics. Mom, I'm talking to you. So anyway,
And you might want to tell them how to do a chat.
and oh yes, and during the presentation, if y'all will just ask questions through the chat, I'll ask them here in the room, and that way we'll get them on the recording, and Frank will hear you, because it's not necessarily going to pull up in the he won't necessarily see it. So ask your questions in the chat, please. So everybody, hello, good evening. Attention, please.
I think we're starting.
Yes. All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. So thank y'all. This is the October meeting of the Baton Rouge Orchid Society. Thank y'all for joining us in person, and for the people joining us at home. Let me make sure I'm not muted here real quick. Tonight we have longtime member and Bros stalwart Frank Zachariah presenting. But before that, are there issues related to how do we want to address the any nominations for voting or anything like that for the board?
Should we do that after?
Or should we do it after? Okay, we'll handle all the business afterwards, so that yeah, because we've got 27 people logged on. So we'll just go ahead and get right into Frank's presentation. You want to go ahead and start? Okay. So anyway, without further ado, here's Frank.
Okay.
Close the chat out for you.
Okay.
All right, there you go.
All right. I assume y'all can hear me. And this works. Do we need to turn the lights out? I don't care. All right. So this is a presentation that I want y'all to ask questions during the presentation. So I'm going to present a lot of stuff that y'all already know. It's going to be just a review, but there'll be some stuff. And if I could get that light out of my, there you go. Oh God, I'm not gonna be able to find it. Okay, that's better. Okay. So again, just ask questions. If I say something new and you don't understand it, it means there's 5 other people that don't understand it. And so just to avoid confusion, let's go into it a little more detail. And that way we wind up at the end at the same place. Okay, a lot of questions. Let's get started. That means I dropped the thing. All right, so, and it didn't work. It's not going anywhere. Frank, it's not moving. I just want to look at this screen for a while. So what did you do?
It was, you had to highlight, you had to activate the PowerPoint screen. It was still in Zoom because the Zoom menu was up like that. It was still waiting for you.
Gotcha.
So
now we're in PowerPoint.
yep. Oh,
Okay. All right. So anyway, so the little lightning bolt. So all life needs energy, and life cannot get energy from itself. Light has to capture the energy from another source. So for animals, what we do is we eat food, and that's stored energy. So for instance, if you eat the flesh of a cow, it doesn't become your flesh. You have to digest it and break it down into a very, very simple molecule. Let's take protein, for instance. If you have a protein, to make a protein, you take the carboxyl group of the carbohydrate. Oh, first of all food originally comes from a plant carbohydrate, and then it diversifies into other parts of the plant or other parts of the animal. So if you take a protein, it starts out as a carboxyl group of the carbohydrate. You add an amino group onto it, it becomes a peptide. Add a bunch of peptides to get a polypeptide. Keep adding it, you get a protein, and the names aren't important, or what it is isn't important. I just want you to understand that concept. Then when you eat the protein, what you've got to do is it's got to go backwards. You've got to go back from polypeptide to peptide to the amino group, and that's what we bring into our body. And then our body decides that amino group is going to go into a protein again or into something else. Okay, there are 2 rules that are immutable that all humans have to obey. And the first rule is that we're all adult 2-year-olds. And that means that we want to go, me, look at me, mommy, look at me, jump. You know, we all want that praise and adulation coming from somebody else. And the second rule is that life is very stressful. The Buddhists say that the first noble truth is life is suffering. And so what we're trying to do is find some way to decrease the stress in our lives. There are several ways to do it. Some people paint, some people play music, and that's the me, look at me play music, or the corollary is, look at him play that music, just like Mozart. Or the people here use plants as a stress release. For instance, James Johnson, when he was a police officer, told me that when he'd come back home, Sarah was not allowed to talk to him. He would go straight into the greenhouse. He would piddle with his orchids for about an hour, and then she'd call him to eat supper. And then he could have a stress-free supper, and they could have a conversation like human beings. So there's several ways that you can use plants to relieve stress. But let's take those white daisies, for instance. If you tell your friend, hey, Martha, you got to come over. I've got this beautiful bed of white daisies. You may get, that's the day I wash my hair. I don't think I'm going to do that. But if you say, hey, I've got this exquisite orchid and it's got a fragrance that's filling up my whole kitchen right now, well, be over at 7. So orchids give us that power to show off. Everybody loves orchids. Everybody is amazed at people that grow orchids. And at least for me, it centers me and it gives me some peace. So there's an orchid match for everybody. You like black flowers? This is Millennium Magic. This is Sogo Yukitan. It's a pure white flower that sparkles. It looks like somebody's dusted it with diamonds. You have a favorite color? I personally like 2 or more colors in a flower. Suppose you want flowers that don't look like a flower. Looks like something alien or an insect. Well, there's hundreds of orchids that do that. So let's figure out how to grow these orchids. So we already said that animals use food as their source of energy, and plants use the biggest source of energy in our solar system, which is the sun. So we're going to go ahead and talk about how to grow these orchids, but it's really, it's related to really all plants. So this is that 7th grade equation that y'all have all seen, is photosynthesis. And what this is showing is that you take water and carbon dioxide, and then you get a carbohydrate out of it. And the carbohydrate is glucose, and which is a sugar. And I've taken some liberty in writing the formula down below to show it's carbon water, which is carbohydrate. Now, we're animals. We know all about food. We know that you eat beans and rice. You don't eat rocks and cardboard. But we're really blind about light intensity. We really can't see that. And when you read orchid literature, people will say, put this orchid, don't put it in full sun, put it in medium shade or put it in high shade. Meaningless, doesn't mean anything. And that would be similar to saying, well, I feed this puppy, I give it dog food every day, but I'm not sure if I'm giving it a tablespoon or a cup. And so you really don't know what's going on with this. On the right side, this is an AOS picture. Obviously, one of these has a dozen flowers. The other one looks fine, but it's below the level of light intensity to make flowers. There's an easy solution to that now. It's free apps for the phone. If you're really serious about growing orchids, you really have to figure out how much light you're getting in your greenhouse. And or you can get the one on the left is just an old analog one. AOS light is one of the measurements of light is foot candles, and AOS has recommendations for how much foot candles for these genera are. So the cattleya is 3,000 foot candles. And this picture is a Cattleya alliance in full sun, and this is 10,000 foot candles. Now, we'll talk about why you don't put orchids at 10,000 foot candles here. The second part of light is duration. So what that is how long do you leave the light on? I mean, you don't go and flip a switch on, 3,000 foot candles, flip it back off. That's not going to do it. So my brain has been fried with Dr. Pepper commercials from when I was a kid of 10, 2, and 4. And if you remember that and you take those 3 readings, they're 6 hours apart, you can figure out the duration of your light. So let's pretend like we took the readings, and at 10 o'clock, it was 1,000 foot candles. At 2 and 4, it was 5,000. add them together, divide by 3, and you have your 3,000 foot candles, so you'll be fine. When people get started, a lot of times they will, including me, put it under a tree just so it doesn't get in full sun. And that's adequate, but it's not a great solution because the light intensity under a tree changes every season and every 10 minutes. And our tree canopies are pretty heavy. So usually the light intensity is a little bit too heavy for a properly grown, healthy orchid. The other solution, of course, is shade cloth. My shade cloth is 50%. The comes in 47%, 35%, 80%. You can get it whatever percentage you want. The a 20 by 40 piece of shade cloth is about $250, and it'll last you 10, 20 years. All right, this is the paradox, water. Can we move this guy out of the way? This is bothering me. I guess y'all are just gonna have to. I'm gonna let you do that while I keep talking. Yeah, that's better. And then I'm gonna ask you to move it again. That's okay.
Just don't put the cursor over it and all you'll see is the open bar.
I'm good.
All right, so what is a paradox in that that an orchid has a lot of orchids have a storage organ. They're succulent, like a cactus. So they have a storage organ. They have roots adapted to drying out, and they come from a rainforest. So that's not moving. Y'all, I'm not the best with this. Okay, I think it's moving now. So this all gets recorded now, so we get to see all my mistakes. This is an orchid, obviously in the wild. It gets rained on in the afternoon, and then it just stays dry. And so let's talk about what's happening. This white thing on top of the roots is velamen. And this is a covering that epiphytic orchid roots have. And what that is, it's empty cells that completely surround the root. And so it protects the root comes in a tree, but it also, when it gets that afternoon shower, the velamen instantly absorbs all the water it can. And it just holds that on the root through the night, and the root is slowly absorbing that. And yes,
The loss feels like too much.
I was crying and that I got out my toys.
Please mute.
So many people.
Yeah, could you ask everyone to mute their computers at home? I hear a television going and I think something else. Please, we
Yeah, I
can't
think we're.
hear it over the television. Thanks.
You have met here in the
Distracting.
years. Start thinking about your health coverage. So many options to choose from.
No, I'm still hearing that television going in someone's background.
I think we got them all now.
Oh, I sure hope so. Thank you.
Sure.
okay. Just stop us again. Hey, Dottie, by the way.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so velamen, very important part of this whole discussion, fills up with water through the night, and then the next day it slowly lets the root get the water back, and it's slowly drying out. If it's in a media that is keeping that velamen saturated, it's the same thing as putting that root in just a bucket of water and just leave it in there. And everyone here, including me, have killed roots by rotting them out because the velamen stayed too wet for too long. And this should be smaller. I think I can do that part. There we go. So this is just a demonstration of what the problem is. So 2 towels on the line, water them both, put one in a hamper and leave the other on the line. The one on the line dries out within a half an hour. The one in the hamper, 3 days later, it's still a little bit moist, it's moldy, it's smelly. And this is the problem with our roots. So when 90%, I'm just going to make up a figure, 99% of all the orchids that are killed by roots rotting. It's just a thing that we're going to have to figure out how to do correctly. So I'm not going to talk a lot about media, but if you have a media and you're worried about it holding too much water, just make a dummy pot. And then after you water, if it's time to water again, take the dummy pot, empty it out, and see if it still has some water in it. And if it's still kind of moist, then just wait a couple of days or wait a week. And there's somebody else. Huh? Okay. Pseudobulbs. The thing about some orchids, they do have pseudobulbs, and this is a storage organ, and this lets you know these are orchids that have an extended dry period. It always corresponds to our winters, and so the bigger the pseudobulb, the less rain it's going to get. In generally speaking, and this is just a generality, American orchids are the ones with the pseudobulbs, and the Asian orchids do not have them. And that's because in Asia, usually the rainfall is more consistent over a longer period. All right, now we come to the minerals, and this is fertilizer. And this is what Miracle-Gro keeps telling people is plant food. But we know that really plant food is the stuff down at the bottom. And if you look at the equation for photosynthesis, you see it has no minerals in it whatsoever. So the photosynthesis contributes 97% of the orchid growth, and the fertilizer only contributes 3%. So, and some people get that backwards. They think, well, it would be, let's pretend like the fertilizer is a vitamin pill. And so you would eat a steak and a potato and a piece of pie and a real tiny vitamin pill. And some people think, no, I'm going to take a big old vitamin pill the size of a grapefruit, and then for the light part, whatever, a little tiny steak. And that's not how it works for plants. So this barrel is called Liebig's barrel, or the law of minimum. And it's just a demonstration of, if you take the barrel staves and you have them all the way up to the top, the water fills up. So it's 100%, the water fills up to 100%. The plant grows at 100%. This never happens. There's always one that's a little bit lower. And if you take one of the staves and you actually cut it, then it actually is even lower still. So let's say the nitrogen is at 70%, then the only way the plant can only grow up to the level of that nitrogen until you raise that up any higher. Nutrient absorption at different pHs. I just wanted to show you all that. This is what AOS recommends. It's 5.5 to 6 for most orchids. In Baton Rouge, our pH is 8.3, which is 100 times more alkaline than's recommended. If you ask people from other parts of the country, can you grow orchids at 8.3? They'll tell you no. We know that that's not true, but really it would be helpful if you have orchids here to let them get rained on occasionally, to just leach some of, we have very high sodium in our water. But anyway, you can see the orchids on the table, and they do very well here. This is deficiencies caused by excessive nutrients, and this is fertilizer compatibilities. I'm just throwing this up here. If you're interested in this, rent this or borrow this recording. And you can go ahead and look at this in detail. So this is the fertilizer that I use. And if you look at the top number, it's 14,814. The middle number is low. That's an MSU formulation. It also has high Cal Mag. And because we have a very high pH, it buffers the pH to lower. On the left side, it shows that the nitrogen is mostly in the nitrate form, which is what what a lot of people recommend. And then on the right side, I have highlighted 1 to 15, and that's what the Siphon-X ratio is. So that tells you how much you need to put in for your injector. So usually we say that orchids need between 75 and 100 parts per million of nitrogen. So that's about this range. So if you go by that, you're going to have about 1 ounce per gallon in the Siphon-X. Now, I'm just going to, my vet, when I went to my vet, he told me, he says, Frank, what do you feed your dog? I says, well, I feed it dog food and I feed it a little cheese. And he says, you know, the dog food companies spend tens of millions of dollars to make this dog food. And it's 100% all the nutrition that the dog needs from birth to the end. And so he says, so if you add anything to it, you're not making it 110%, you're making it 95 or 90%. So just be aware of that. Some people will say, well, okay, I've got this formula, and you can see it has trace elements and everything in it. But you know what? I'm going to add bloom buster. I'm going to add more phosphorus in. Oh, you know what? I think we can do this. Add more phosphorus in it. Well, you know what? Phosphorus ties up iron if you have too much phosphorus. So now you've got iron chlorosis. And then if you correct the iron, it's tying up the manganese or Epsom salt. I'm going to need to add the Epsom salt. Well, Epsom salt, all these chemicals interact with each other. Epsom salt, magnesium, if you have excess, ties up the calcium, which is for cell structure. So unless you really know what you're doing, just be very careful about doing that. Now, I still feed my dog cheese, but I do it, it's mostly makes me feel better. All right, so this is the recommendation for the calcium nitrate formulation once a week when growing, or in the Siphon-X, a half a cup to a 5-gallon bucket. All right, we talked about one form of energy. There's a second form of energy. This is the problem. The second form of energy also comes from the sun, but it's not light. It's heat. And so we have to take this into consideration. And another little experiment, what heat does is it forces chemical reactions. So this is flour and oil, mix them together, you get this gooey paste. You go ahead and add heat to it, and you can get a roux, which is a different chemical composition. So this is cattleyas at 10,000 foot candles. This is 10,000 foot candles in July. This is also 10,000 foot candles in January. It's 10,000 foot candles year round. But if we put our orchids outside in July at 95 degrees, they're not going to be really happy. If you put the same orchid outside in January, when the high is maybe 75 degrees, it can be outside in full sun. I've done it. It doesn't hurt it at all. And that's because what was harming that plant in July was the excess heat. It wasn't the light. This is what AOS recommends as maximum day temperatures. And you can see the cattleya is 85 degrees. My cattleyas are outside, all my orchids outside under shade cloth. Y'all already know that. And for the summer. And they take the 95 degrees just fine outside. We'll have, every now and then we'll have occasionally 2 or 3 or 4 days of 100 degrees. I've never seen anything burn with that, as long as they're outside under the shade cloth with enough circulation. Wanted to show you what heat damage looks like. You can see the leaves turn yellow. I've seen leaves that were the color of a lemon and they never came back. And heat damage almost always happens in the wintertime when somebody closes up their greenhouse, sun comes out, and you go in there later on the day and you go, oh my God, can't believe what it looks like. On the right is Sherry Baby with the heat spots on the leaves. Sherry Baby has 2 species in its parentage that come from the high altitudes that want to be no higher than 75 days, 55 nights. We can't do that. And so any of the leaves that are made down here in the summertime always have these heat spots. It still blooms just fine, but the foliage doesn't look that great.
So the spots are from the heat, not from the light?
It's not light. This is, and I'm sorry, that little cursor, I'm not even asking to move it, but this says light damage underneath this little line down there. And this is what light damage looks like. It's different from heat damage. And light damage makes these looks like a magnifying glass burned a hole in it. And that's a necrotic spot right there. And that's a totally different way of hurting the plant. And some people will, including me, the plant will be in too much shade. And if you move it into the correct amount of light too fast, you'll get light damage from it. You'll get these spots on it. And then, oh, well, let me move it back into the shade, and then it never blooms because it's in too much shade. So if it's in a lot of shade and you want to move it into the correct amount of light that the light meter says is correct, then just do it gradually and you won't get this problem. This is root damage. I just wanted to show you all root damage, and that's where the leaves are shriveled and wrinkly. And if you see this, you pull this out, you don't have any live roots on this anymore. All right, this is a couple of flats of larkspur that I had, and this is about a 20-degree difference in temperature at my house. These are all the same age. It's just one is growing warmer than the other. And that's what temperature will do. All right, this is the problem we have. And this is respiration. And with,
Hey, Frank, I have a question.
yeah.
Someone, Pat Ingleton from Houston asked, what causes white leaf tips?
You have to say that, I didn't hear you.
What causes white leaf tips generally on thin leaf orchids like Oncidiums? Maybe repeat the question.
Yeah, white is if it's in the bend of the leaf, that's light. If it's on the end of the leaf, it's usually a brown leaf tip. If it's at the tip, it's usually a fertilizer burn, and especially on the soft leaf like Oncidiums. If that doesn't answer the question, Pat, just ask it again.
These are white tips.
If it's at the tip of the leaf, then it's usually a fertilizer. It's what I'm saying, fertilizer. It's a mineral burn from the roots. It could be something in the soil that she didn't put in there, but if it's at the tip, that's where the minerals are collecting. A fluoride will do that sometimes too. They say dracaenas. Be very careful with dracaenas. No, it's not an orchid, but too much fluoride will cause the tips to have that on it. So if she's getting that, best thing to do would be to flush it out. And that's just the tip. For light, it's not going to be at the tip. It's going to be the very top of the most exposed part of it. And it will be if the light is coming is directional, like coming from the glass from one side, then that's the side that will show the light damage. And obviously it won't show it on the other side. If it's, yeah, it doesn't matter if the tips, if the leaves are, it doesn't matter if the leaves are upright. That isn't where you see light damage. It's going to be, it's usually in the, like these, it's usually in the center of the leaf. I mean, not always, but that's about where it is. And obviously, if, like I said, if the light is unidirectional, then the damage, if it's light, will be on the direction of the light. If it's on the entire plant, then that's usually a root problem. Okay, so now we go back to respiration. So respiration, like I said, in plants, takes place at night. And this is the formula for respiration. So you take the carbohydrate and you release the energy. You usually, we say that's ATP or adenosine 5-triphosphate. I believe I remember that. And then you release water and carbon dioxide out of it. And this evolved or was done by some little slimy creature 3 billion years ago. And this is how all life does respiration, without exception, because it's never been improved upon. So I think some of y'all know that, and this is all invisible stuff that's going on underneath that we're doing every second of our life just to stay alive, whether you're, no matter what you are. So we share DNA, 99% of our DNA we share with the chimp. We're the only 1% of our DNA makes us human. We share 60% of our DNA with a banana. So most of our DNA is just to go ahead and do this respiration and all the other functions that need to be done. So whether you're a banana or ragweed or an elephant or us, we're doing all this stuff. So the minority, the 40% of the DNA, is what we do to build houses or to walk or to sing. And this is the formula for photosynthesis again. I just want to show y'all, it's just the reverse. So you take the water, carbon dioxide, you make the carbohydrate, and respiration for everything is you take the carbohydrate, release the energy. You know, when we were, I don't know about y'all, when I was in school, what is respiration? Oh, you take in oxygen and you breathe out carbon dioxide. The most important part is the carbohydrate that you're releasing the energy. And we were never told that. We were just the minor part about the oxygen and the carbon dioxide was what I was told. So the night temperature, these are 4 genera, and this is the recommended night temperatures by AOS. Actually, AOS says the recommended night temperature for Cattleya is 55 to 60 degrees. All the hands of people that are doing that, right? So, and this is our problem with growing Cattleyas in the deep south, is we can't get it down that low. Dendrobiums, I think this is incorrect, because the dendrobiums do beautiful here, and I think they've just combined all the dendrobiums and added and got a 65. But the ones that we grow here love the 75-degree nights that we get. Phalaenopsis actually really likes the 65. They don't like night temperatures above 70. So this is the formula for respiration. And what the problem is, let's take my little puppy again. All right, if it's a pleasant day in the fall or in the winter, and taking a bike ride, that little puppy will follow me for blocks, just around and around. But now, you know, y'all are supposed to turn your phones off. Excuse me. But in the summertime, let's say in August, that little sucker's underneath the porch, you know, panting. You can't take that little dog and try to run it down the street. It's going to, you know, it'll get, you could actually kill the dog by doing something like that. And that's because The panting is respiration. It's breathing a lot. And what it's trying to do, it's using that energy that it's releasing to just stay alive and try to cool itself down. This is the problem with the orchids, is when they're above the level that is their correct temperature, they're either not able to perform this respiration properly, or they're performing it too fast and forming tissue that's soft and easy to for pathogens to attack or whatever. And serious problem that we have in the South. As you know, we're having cool nights now, and everybody can see their orchids are just so happy with these cooler nights. So potting media, I'm really not going to get into potting. If you want to know how I pot, you can come to the conservatory and watch me. I don't do anything special. There's probably 10 people in here that pot better than me, but this is the potting media. This is the inorganic potting media, which will last for a long time, probably longer than I'm around. And then this is the organic potting media. And if you have heavy rainfall like we have, the organic, like the sphagnum, it goes bad within I was going to say within a year, but really it doesn't even make it through the end of the year, where it goes bad here in our heavy rainfall. Most of the organic media, they recommend repotting within 3 years because it decomposes. All right, so circulation. If you have a closed greenhouse and it starts getting hot, some people will go ahead and say, well, it's too hot in here. Let me go ahead and add a little shade cloth. No, it's still a little bit too hot. I'm going to make it, now it feels really good. I've got a lot of shade cloth on it. Plants are fine. But you know what? What you've done when you cut out the light is you've cut out your growth, you've cut out your flowers. And if you increase your circulation, you're doing a better job than doing it by putting on too much shade. And what I do, obviously, is I put them outside so that the wind goes in and takes care of the circulation. I live down by those two car dealerships at the corner of Sherwood and Airline, and they have those huge American flags flying there. I don't think I've ever passed there without those American flags just fluttering. And so I think a really low wind speed is about 5 or 10 miles an hour. That's almost nothing. And of course we get, when the solar winds pick up in the middle of the day, it gets more than that. If you have a greenhouse that's closed up, what's recommended, I remember walking into like Sears where they sell air conditioners and they put the little streamers on top, you know, where they're fluttering like that. If you have a greenhouse and you put the little streamers down and they're fluttering, you're in good shape. If you can light matches in your greenhouse, you may need to increase your circulation. All right, so now we're going to do a review. So we'll do light, and the problem with light is that you really can't tell how much light something's getting. So it looks like it's in bright light, but there was really a brighter light for that. And these are the AOS recommendations for light. I put 7,000 foot candles next to their 3,000 because if you have a problem with respiration, then you really need to increase your light level to take care of all that respiration that's not being utilized because of the excess heat. And that's just my opinion, which is correct. So water, orchids are both a succulent and they live in a rainforest. So we have to make sure that we water them a bunch, but they also dry out. One solution is to put them in a very tiny pot so you can water it, and by the end of the day, that's dry. Or as Glenn brought, the mounts. The mounts have been outside in our excessive rain all summer long, not a problem. Or you know, as y'all because y'all make fun of me, I use a lot of styrofoam. The styrofoam dries out. Fertilizer. Well, you'll never get an orchid to bloom by giving it more fertilizer. If it has enough light to bloom, it's going to bloom. What the fertilizer will do is it will get it, instead of having one flower, it'll have 3 flowers or 5 flowers or 12 flowers. So that's the advantage of the fertilizer. So, and the each little mineral of the fertilizer contributes something to the plant. This is leaving spiral I wanted to show you again. And this is the amount of fertilizer to use per week if the plant is growing well. For us, in the wintertime, it doesn't grow very well. In the summertime, it doesn't grow very well. And I cut the fertilizer back a lot when the nights are above 75. Yes. I showed up what? Right.
But twice now you have shown us the slide about calcium nitrate.
It's calcium nitrate.
Why did you show us slide calcium nitrate if you use Peter's fertilizer?
That it is calcium nitrate. Let's see. Can I go back that far? That is a calcium nitrate. It means a complete fertilizer. It's way back, huh? There's a lot of slides in here. There we go. Okay, so this is, it's calcium. This is Peter's Excel. There's actually a few of the Peter. Look at the bottom middle where it says potassium nitrate, calcium nitrate, and this is the MSU. So on the second line, and it derived from. Right. What I should have said was the fertilizer should contain the calcium nitrate with the other trace minerals and the phosphorus and whatever. Okay, I wasn't clear about that. That's my fault. That's why you're supposed to ask questions. All right, so and we'll go back and go back. Water, fertilizer, and I did use the. I like that Peters mix, but there's I use Technogrow. Technogrow is great too. I just can't get it. There's several of the MSU formulations. If y'all need to get fertilizer, I've got a cheap source now. Temperature. This is the one that I said there was a problem with. So let's talk about how we can bring that temperature down. Does anybody want to volunteer something? Let's go with light. Is there anything we can do with light to bring the temperature down? Shade. So what you can do to bring the temperature down, Hal says, is shade. But the problem, Hal, is the problem with the temperature is the night temperature. It's not the day temperature. So the shade does bring it down for the day, but then it decreases the, and I thought that too. But then you decrease your level of light intensity and it doesn't help out at all at night. So the other thing is water. So I'll just say, so with water, the way to bring the temperature down is to spritz it about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I don't mean water it again. I just mean just put enough water on that leaf so it's not bubbling, you know. And if you have to do it twice in like 30 seconds, a half hour apart, that's okay. That will help bring the temperature down. Fertilizer, and that's what I told you. And when the temperature is really hot, I cut the fertilizer back because if the plant is trying to grow when it's, yes. Oh, okay, I'm getting cut off. Okay, one more. So you have to be very careful about that. And then the last one is, of course, circulation. And that's the best way to bring temperature down. If you, I remember, I guess this is my past, we're going through with this, but I remember when we would go swimming when I was younger, the girls next to the swimming pool, there was a big air conditioning unit, and with the blower and everything, and they would go there to dry their hair, and then we'd go there too. And it makes it much cooler to sit under something with this huge fan going. So circulation is really a way, if you're having problems with anything, to help you out with a lot of things. So this is in full sun, Guttata, and the reason it can be in full sun is because it's on the side of a hill, and where there's a constant breeze, and then the ones on the right are just showing orchids out in the open, and they're either at a very high altitude or they're also with a constant breeze, and that's just circulation. Okay, that was it. So any questions here or through Zoom?
I have
Oh
a
my God.
question.
Yeah.
This is
Hi.
Monica in Austin. We
Hi,
had a
Monica.
great, hi, thanks for your talk. We had a greenhouse tour last weekend and we looked at very different greenhouses. The one that looked the best, in my opinion, had almost gale force winds in there. It was
Yep.
extremely windy. And
Yeah.
he had said the best thing about that was when he increased the circulation that much, he had 0 bug problems.
That's true. And you know, we have found out here, this is just not my experience, and I don't know why this happens, but if we put the plants outside under shade cloth, our bug problem goes almost to 0. And what happens is, if you have a closed greenhouse, you know, the white flies and the spider mites have an egg-to-egg cycle of 10 days. So within 10 days, the egg has matured and is laying eggs. And if there's nothing, and they're really dumb bugs, if there's anything that's blowing them off or washing them off, then you don't have a problem with them. But if the circulation is very poor in there, they will build up huge populations within a matter of weeks. Yeah, circulation is an underutilized resource that we need to do.
The other thing that he had mentioned about circulation was the plants grow very strong
That's right.
because they're fighting the wind. And
That's
then
right.
the last comment, I was wondering, maybe by growing outside, the bugs that are on your orchids are getting eaten by the other bugs.
And I don't know. It could be a parasitic wasp. They're taking, I don't know
Yeah.
what is doing it, but
Yeah.
something makes sure that there's not a big bug problem.
She's
when you put them
correct.
outside.
When you grow orchids outside, you don't have as many pest problems because there are many insects, funguses, and bacteria that are killing off what we call the pest problem. So it's a combination of other insects either parasitizing them or they're eating them. You know, there's all kinds of beneficial insects out there, but there's also diseases, funguses, and bacteria that kill off the outside. But when we put them in a closed greenhouse, we eliminate some of those beneficial things that control insects in a natural population. Good point.
Thank you. I had originally had plants outside, and the pests that we have here in Austin are the squirrels that ate all the pseudobulbs. And then in August, the grasshoppers ate whatever was left.
Yeah, we have mice and raccoons, especially for catasetums. They love it.
Yeah.
And they're very good. They'll eat the back half of it. So when you go into the greenhouse, it still looks okay, but all the leaves are yellow, and then you turn it around and it's just the surface is still there.
And the control for those pests is going to the humane shelter and adopting a yappy dog. and leaving the dog out to scare away the squirrels and all those other higher pests.
Yeah.
And
Insects.
yeah,
Really,
there's-
I'm serious. It works. It works.
Thanks, Dottie.
yeah, thank you, Dottie.
Frank, this is
Yeah.
Derek.
Hey,
Great
Derek.
talk. What I find is I never put the plants outside. They're always in the greenhouse. But what keeps the bugs in check are I have families of anoles that live in the
Mhm.
greenhouse, both the
Oh,
brown.
yeah,
and
we
green
have,
kinds.
yeah, we definitely have anoles here too.
And they just do a job on them. I have not had to spray in years. I never
Um,
see anything.
I don't know if anoles eat the homopteras, the whitefly and the mealies though.
No,
uh,
you can put up some sticky tape.
You can put up sticky tape
Fly
for it,
paper.
and they have, I saw this in New York, they have biological controls for it. Mark Hatchadorian showed me some kind of biological control where he puts it up. He said he had a problem in his greenhouses with whitefly, and he had these, it wasn't sticky tape, it was something that was releasing that either made them sterile or killed the whitefly. And he says, I don't have any problem anymore. Yeah, that's a problem. But I don't have a problem in my outside with the whitefly. In fact, you know, what we do here is we grow coleus and stuff outside, and then to save money, we'll go ahead and take some of that back inside for the wintertime. And as soon as you bring it back inside a greenhouse, you get mealybugs everywhere. So it's something about being outside that's helpful to control those pests.
Well, they probably wind up in the soil and then you bring them in.
Yeah, yeah, or there's just one or two. I think some of those pests are parthenogenic, so I don't even think like aphids. You don't even need two of them. All you need is one, and then you got a ton of them. Yeah, Gary. I'll tell y'all after we hang up with the Zoom people. Okay.
I also use carnivorous plants. They work real well. For
Oh, that's a
conserving.
good choice. I never even thought about that. That's pretty smart. Yeah, we'll have to do that. All right. Any questions here or any more on the online? Okay. Well, thank you all for participating. We have a little business here in Baton Rouge, so we're going to go and take care of that. And I guess we'll talk to y'all later. Come to a short course, or at least participate in the short course online. What?
Frank, there's one more question in the chat.
Yeah.
They're asking about the milk crate and peanuts, what led to the cultural style and what are the benefits to your condition?
Well, it was something that's very large. Can we show them Glenn's thing with the milk crate with that big Leviston? You know what? I'll take a picture and I don't know how I'm going to get it to y'all. I'll take a picture of the. He's gonna show it. So it was just we would like to have big plants, and so you start out with net pots that are 6 inch, and then what I use is for 10 inches, I go to Dollar General and I get their wire baskets for $1. And then one of the members here, they were throwing away these milk crates, and so after you run out of the 10-inch wire basket, if you put in the milk crate, I would love for these plants to get, completely encircle this milk crate. So, okay, Frank McMahon's going to show you this guy. I don't see it. There it is.
Let's see,
You keep going.
where we get in front of the screen?
Now you're there. Okay, y'all see that? That's probably Levisdale Nicole, or have we figured out what it is? It is angel wings. Okay, so but anyway, if you can, there's two ways to grow orchids. You can have dozens and dozens of small plants, or you can have like a dozen of really big plants. And I kind of like that big plant idea. So that's how that started. Okay, well, thank you all. Thank you all for participating. I'm gonna turn it over to Frank McManus now.
Okay, I'm not sure why, but we have a screen up here that rather than our screen. But anyway, thanks to everybody that joined us. We're gonna just take care of some club business now, and I'm gonna go ahead and end the Zoom meeting. So thanks, everybody.
Oh.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, yeah, if there's some members, yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll limit that. Okay, yeah. So if anybody wants to stay around, we'll the main issue that we need to just mention is that elections for officers are coming up. Do we conduct those in November or December? How does I wasn't okay. Okay. So anyone that's interested in running for an office, please get in touch with an officer. You can send an email to me.
So who's running right now?
I'm running for president. Glenn is running for vice president. Patty is running for secretary. Pat is running for treasurer. And then the two at-large, then an at-large seat. You're running for Frank Zachariah is running for an at-large seat, and Jim Morrison is running for an at-large seat that we're going to create.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I believe that's the.
And that doesn't mean you need to vote for any.
Absolutely. If anybody else wants
to do it instead, that's for run against them.
Sure, or let a member know if you're interested in getting involved for next year. I don't think anybody's proprietary about it.
I do the newsletter. I would love to have someone help with the newsletter or do it or whatever. I think if we divide up some of the tasks, I mean, you know what it's like doing a newsletter. It takes a while. So if somebody would like to learn to do PowerPoint, I think it's a useful skill, and I would love to have someone help out with that. For December, I'm going to have an operation in December, or we aren't going to do a newsletter in December anyway. But certainly I won't have any. If anybody wants to put out anything in December, they're going to have to do it without me.
And do we want to try and sell plants at the meeting next time? So we could announce to anyone that's on Zoom that we will be selling plants? Because I know that was something we were thinking about doing once we started meeting in person again. But do we want to try and?
I've ordered 48 plants from humans for. Did I tell you this? I think I did.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So okay, I'll tell everybody else. So I've ordered 48 plants from humans for the December short course. Because what they're going to do is that glass greenhouse they have over there, they're going to make it into a display greenhouse. We're going to go ahead and take I say we, this lady volunteered, the lady behind Dana volunteered, and Kathy Connolly volunteered. Anybody else wants to volunteer, they can do it. But they've ordered some benches for in there, and then we're going to take the poinsettias, because it's first weekend in December, and make a nice display with poinsettias. Bird wants to buy a little Norfolk Island pines. I said, we're not buying, we'll buy. And then some of these tropicals out across the parking lot. I'm going to put in there with 40 orchids that I'm getting from humans, and then we can resell the orchids to any of the members. I told her I wanted cattleyas. She says, I don't know if I can get you all cattleyas. She says, I can get a real good deal on bulldog paphiopedilums. So we may get half cattleyas and half paphiopedilums. And after we have the display, if anybody would like to buy, welcome to buy.
Okay. So no plans to sell any orchids at the November meeting, but we are going.
Frank?
Yes.
Frank, this is Jim.
Hey, Jim.
Actually, the new board is supposed to take place starting in November. So this is usually the month for elections. And don't forget, Pat Canning is running for treasurer.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
So what, we're voting today?
You should be
on
voting that
November?
this meeting should be the voting, and new board members take over next month. So new president, new vice president, new treasurer all take place starting next month, November.
well, I guess we're just gonna have to sort that out because I don't think we're gonna get that done tonight, right? Or do we want to, I mean, we can,
Just vote on the people?
yeah.
You want to say by?
Yeah, I mean, by acclamation, does everybody approve the slate of proposed officers?
Yes.
Well,
Aye.
we're opening a second at-large seat that's to be addressed in the next board meeting, or opening that up. We're gonna, so.
I don't think Jim is willing. Jim Morrison. I think it's going to be my understanding.
I haven't talked to him.
My understanding is it's going to be an at-large seat if the board approves it and the members approve an addition for an at-large seat. Okay. An additional at-large. And I think Jim would make an excellent board member, but there wasn't a slot, and so that's going to be something that we'll discuss.
Why do we need another board member? I mean,
Well,
Mainly, I think because interest has been expressed and that Jim was interested in doing it.
and I mean, personally, I would love to have two board members, two more. I mean, I don't think we hurt by having more people. The more people that are on the board, the more people we can move up into the president and vice president, where they're taking an active interest in the club.
Yeah, I think it's more about getting people involved.
But it's going to be voted on by people here to see if they want a new board member. And if it's voted down, then we don't put a new board member on. If it's voted up, then we go ahead and do that.
But well, by acclamation, we have approved the slate of board members, and then we will move forward with the additional at-large seat for Jim and discuss it and vote on it at the next meeting. Is that what we're deciding?
I think in the bylaws, it says it has to be printed in the newsletter before the meeting, and then it's.
Well, we'll try and get that in the November newsletter.
so we're gonna have the current people we just elected in the newsletter. But the board has to go ahead and open up another at-large. And then that has to be voted on and filled. So that's not going to be in the newsletter, just the current members.
Just that.
That are going to be starting over.
Yeah, and then if Jim wants to run in November, or if anybody else wants to run in November, that if this group approves another member, an at-large member, then we'll vote on.
Does the
that.
board have to approve it first?
I don't remember what the bylaw says. We'll have to look at that later. Honestly, don't remember. I think it should be discussed by the board.
We still have more t-shirts if anybody is looking for a t-shirt.
Back up. You want me to order some plants for next month?
Maybe let's not worry about it since it's going to be near the holidays. I'm not going to be here, so somebody else is going to have to be running it. So maybe we'll just focus on that for January.
If I can order 24 plants, if there's none.
Okay.
By the way, I have our speaker at the short course. One of our speakers is Aaron Bourne, and he is ordering. His talk is on phragmopediums, and he's ordering phragmopediums to sell at the short course.
When is the date of the short course?
The short course is on the 4th of December, the first Saturday in December.
I have a question. I signed up, I registered for the short course. I would prefer to come in person, but I signed up with Zoom because from December, who knows, where I can come in.
Right, who knows?
So can I change it?
It doesn't matter because there's no money exchanged. So if you want to come. If you don't want to come, we just wanted to have a total to say, oh, there's going to be 4 people at the short course. There's going to be 50 people at short
Okay.
course.
And the question for people at home, if you can't hear, was if you've registered for the short course in December as to attend online, you decide you want to attend in person or vice versa, is that fine? And the answer is yes, that's great. We want you to come no matter how you do it.
Also, one of the businesses here tonight.
Hi, welcome.
A friend of mine, and she wanted to come, and she has a few orchids, but not many, most of them are not.
Well, probably you get some more.
Hopefully.
I think we're gonna auction that Glenn's
Coin flip. All right, well, I think that's it. Does anybody have anything else they want to bring up?
Frank,
Yes.
yeah, this is Russell. Is there a copy of the bylaws on the website?
I don't know if
Russell, I'll send you a copy.
Okay,
Frank
thanks.
Zachariah will send you a copy.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, well, good night, everybody. Have a nice weekend or have a nice week. Close this out.
Okay, and y'all need to look at